All right, Odyssey of the Dragonlords. This particular episode was a doozy. Um, we almost lost the whole party. This was almost the end of my favorite campaign. I feel like I shouldn't say that as much as I do, but yeah, I don't know. D&D's hard sometimes. Um, so yeah, this session was crazy enough that it had me thinking about two different post game videos. So one was about traps, and that was the last video I did, and the other is about epic epic fights and the whole risk versus reward of an epic fight. So what does that mean? All right, look at this map. Let's zoom out a little bit. Holy crap! Right, that's awesome. They must be super high level to be fighting over lava, right? Lava does like 20 d10 damage. Like, that's crazy. Like that's instant death for many people, right? No. They're level 3. Mm-hmm. Yep, you heard me right. Yep, they're level 3. They're level 3, and they're fighting above this lake of lava on these unstable stone platforms. And what exactly are they fighting? Well, they were fighting a bunch of Cerberus. Oh, did you say Cerberus like the Cerberus from Greek mythology? Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what I said. So there was a Cerberus, and it had two little ads because they have such a huge party. You got to have ads. And this creature, despite them being level 3, had some legendary actions. Mm-hmm. And it was very, very strong. Had a plus 12 to its attack rolls. 3 attacks per round, plus legendary actions. It had a move that could make you deaf and knock you down. It was a phenomenally cool monster. Now, that being said, the monster did have some shortcomings. Yes, CR12. I don't even know. It was reduced. Its hit points were reduced a little bit and stuff. Anyways, this thing was way too strong. It was crazy. And let me just talk about it a little bit more. I don't want to flash this guy's stats up there too much because this is a published adventure. But basically, it had no legendary resistances. It had magic resistance, but it didn't have any ability to just automatically pass a save. It didn't have any skills. It didn't have any spells. So its armor class was only 14. So there was like a lot of things about it that were not that were I guess you could take advantage of, right? You could cheese it with like a good spell or a good skill check or something like that. In the end, spoiler, they ended up throwing it into the lava, and it died in 2 rounds of drowning in the lava or whatever. But this was a tough fight. This was a stressful fight, and what's worse is they started this fight with like no hit points because they had just exited this room that was like a death trap chamber. So they stagger out of this flaming elevator and then immediately have to roll into combat against this boss with like 10 or less hit points on almost everybody. It was super stressful. It was a fight that had everyone at the edge of their seats, everyone's heart pounding. It was a fight that nobody could go to bed afterwards. Like, we all stayed up for an extra hour just to talk about the fight and try to process the way it made us feel and how crazy it was. It was an epic fight. It was a fight that even if they want to forget, they're gonna remember because it was so stressful and so deadly and so crazy. And why was it like that? Because there was too much at stake and too much was being risked. And that's the danger. That's the risk versus reward, right? It's like the adrenaline junkies in real life that like climb up to the top of buildings and walk along the ledge, or parkour off the up the side of the Eiffel Tower or something crazy like that. Like, you're taking these huge risks to pay out these huge rewards. If this had just been, like a little baby, right? Little baby guy, and he had maybe like, I don't know, 50 hit points and no legendary actions, and they ran up and they beat on him, and he got a couple of bites off, and that was the fight. They would be like, that was cool because there was a big wolf and there was lava. And remember when we fought that big wolf by the lava? And they'll, like, hey, that was cool. And nobody was at risk of dying, and everything was cool. But like a fight that pushes everybody essentially past their limits. Like, there were people that were low key trying to run away. There were people that were casting spells that they knew weren't going to work, but they didn't really have anything better to do because they were so scared and so flustered that they just didn't know. There were people that were just like making new characters in another tab on their browser because they were like, this is the end. And then when it wasn't the end, it was this incredible adrenaline rush of like, oh my God. But I'm here to tell you that the players themselves were not happy with having their characters, their virtual lives, handled so carelessly, so haphazardly. They wanted to know, like, what the hell were you doing? Send in a monster this tough against us. We're level 3. What the hell did you think was going to happen with that? Why would you do that? And they were completely justified in feeling like that because it was crazy. You have to understand that, like I say all the time, conversations between your players, expectations for the campaign, tone and flavor of the campaign, these are all things that have to constantly be discussed and curated and revisited. Expectations have to be set, and so on and so forth. These guys know that they are epic heroes, but this is one of those first times. Like, Slime King was pretty nuts. Demetria fight was pretty nuts. But this was the first fight where they were like, it is going to get insane in this campaign. And for some of the bosses, they're not wrong. It is going to get crazy. There are going to be lots of times where they just, like heroes do, just steamroll through like mobs of bad guys like it's no big deal. But there's also going to be these big, huge, evil, ancient Greece monsters, and it's going to be epic. This was such a stressful battle. This was such a crazy battle that I have run groups where like players might have just quit. Like, players would have been like, I can't endure this kind of stress. I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to be a part of this. I'm not here to be stressed out. I'm here to have fun. So when I say like an epic battle is often like a risk versus reward situation, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of risks. There are risks of upsetting people at the table. There are risks of permanently killing your players. There are risks of permanently ending your campaign with a total party wipe. I do not advise doing this lightly. You do not want every week to be like an epic monster of the week battle unless everyone has agreed that like that's the kind of game you're running. Sprinkling a super crazy fight in once in a while, not that big a deal. Like, challenge is good. Challenge makes the game, in my opinion, more fun. But you definitely need to constantly know your players and communicate with your players. And like what I had to do after the session, I had to sit down with everybody and just kind of let everybody talk it out and vent out their feelings. And that gave me a better idea of what they were after. And we're gonna wait a little while, I think, before we have another crazy fight like this, because as exciting as it was and as memorable as it is not something that they would like to do over and over and over again. They are here for character development. They're here for role playing. They're here for the setting and the story. They are not here for the epic monster of the week. So I took a big risk in not further dumbing down this monster, like really dumbing down this monster for them. And luckily for me, that risk paid off, because again, when you roll dice on the table, so much is out of your control. And I would say that I would not recommend people run a game like I ran this one, because yeah, with dice rolls out on the table, with extreme critical hit cards, with a lava pool, with all of these horrible things that could permanently kill their characters, it definitely kind of came across as being a bit disrespectful to their characters and their the work that they put into them, right? Like, I'm basically like, cool that you have these characters you love and they're only level 3. Here's a fight that would probably make level 7 or 8 characters cry. Yeah. So, I guess what I'm saying is think real hard about your super tough boss fights, and remember that it is easier to buff the monster over the course of the fight. Basically, like, now that the creature is at half health, it's super angry, and then you can make the monster a little bit harder. Or you realize that action economy is tanking and the monster is just not going to be able to do it, so you have the monster at the end of the round howl out for help, and you do a bunch of ads that run onto the map from the side of the screen, or just get summoned in because magic, to kind of level the playing field a little bit. There's a lot of ways that you could add more difficulty, but it's a lot harder to take that difficulty away, right? When they saw that first bite attack was at a plus 12, what am I supposed to do? I can't change it to not be a plus 12 anymore, right? So my advice is to undertune and then tune up during the fight, right? Just like cooking, it's easier to add more spice than to take the spices back out. Once the spices are there mixed in, you're not going to get those spices out. But you can always add a bit more spice as you go, season it as needed. So yeah, that is, whew, yeah, I'm still wound up about this fight. That is my thing. Epic boss battles. Consider starting a little bit weaker maybe than you need to, and ramping up in like a stage 2 stage 3 ads show up way. Don't maybe drop that huge super boss on them in the first round, because then you're sort of committed to it, unless you do a reverse stages thing where the boss gets weaker as the fight goes on. That's another way that you could maybe BS your way out of that corner. Either way, took a huge risk, and I think it paid off because it was an epic battle. It was a really cool fight. All right. So hope everybody's staying safe out there, and I will catch you in the next video.